ladies and gentlemen, Bula, and good evening. It is a great honor to welcome you tonight to this very important event, the first since COVID restrictions were lifted. And yes, we have some big announcements. But before we get to the announcements, ladies and gentlemen, Fiji Airways has been working tirelessly for the entire 2 years prior to us commencing flying on the 1st of December. And it was all about being ready. And I'd like to share a lot of this with you tonight because I think it's important for you to understand more about your national carrier. In simple terms, we've achieved the impossible and we are thriving. In the months just prior to COVID, resulting in the suspension of our international flying, we were actually celebrating. We were celebrating 10 years of successive growth in passenger numbers. In 2019, we achieved 1.7 million passengers. We were celebrating the first time we achieved a $1 billion turnover. And we were also celebrating 10 years of successive profits. And then, all of a sudden, on the 1st of April 2020, we faced unprecedented daunting challenges. As a result of the border closures, our aircraft were put into storage and revenue dropped to almost zero. We were then faced with recurring monthly fixed costs of 39 million and enough cash to survive 4 to 5 months. The biggest problem was the uncertainty. When will we resume flying? And if we do, what will the ramp up to normal look like? How long will it take and how quick will it be? And I must say, during the first days, we were sitting in our boardroom, and I think like most people around the world, we were in a state of shock and bewilderment. What next? What do we do? And it was at that stage that looking around, we saw that McKinsey's and company, as you know, leading consultants, we're advocating that you use a process called the Kunavan process, which is a framework for business chaos. It recommends that you take control and make sense later. And that's when it dawned on us. We have a fantastic process which we use for flight emergencies. It is called aviate, navigate, and then communicate. So aviate is take control and maintain control. Once you've made sense of it, then implement the appropriate measures, and then of course you communicate last. Well, we actually did communicate first, but nevertheless, what did we do under aviate? The very first thing we did was we looked at ourselves and said, we need to reframe our thinking and change our mindsets. We have to change to become focused on being adaptable, resilient, agile, influencing, curious and courageous, and then immediately start on the journey to future-fit leadership. Now, there are many definitions of it, but here's what we were following. Leadership that understands you need to be learner leaders, and you need to unlearn what isn't working. We need to see our own mental model, how we see the world. We needed to understand the importance of questioning and leading through questioning. And finally, striving to have synergies and systemic synergies. The next thing we did immediately under Aviate is we realized that our vision no longer applied. It was to be the most loved, the most flown, and most profitable airline. Well, we certainly weren't loved at that stage. We weren't flying, and we couldn't be profitable. So we created a common purpose, where we co-created this with our employees. And it was a purpose very simple, to work together as one, to ensure we survive, and the moment borders open, to thrive. And of course, another part of the Aviate immediate action was to implement cash preservation measures. We cut costs, we suspended anything that wasn't necessary, and unfortunately, we had to take the tough measure of terminating 50% of our staff. Those that remained, we basically allocated into 3 groups. A financial team that was working on maintaining solvency, both cash and also equity. A a customer experience, engineering, flight operations and administration team that was focused on keeping the airline alive and ready. And this was a very important strategy that now with hindsight we can see was right. We kept the airline alive, ready to operate at the quickest in the shortest time. And we had a lot of programs working to ensure that. And finally, a revamp team. This is where we said we take on what Winston Churchill said, never let a crisis go to waste. And we said, what are the things that we normally can't do? So today we have 65 major infrastructure improvements in the business. A new revenue management system, new revenue accounting system, new fuel system called Skybreathe, and a new website and so on. All things that you couldn't do in normal times. Once we'd finished that, we'd managed to bring that monthly recurring cash outflow from 39 down to 20 million. And we then said, well, we still haven't solved the problem. I'm sure you'll all remember from September onwards in 2020, we were blowing a lot of bubbles. There was the bubble that would maybe happen between New Zealand and Australia and ourselves, and all these bubbles came to nothing. And we had to bring sense to the uncertainty. And that's when we called in BNP Paribas, French merchant bank, but also major aviation consultancy. And we sat with them and we developed a 7-year monthly financing forecasting model. This model gives you income statements, balance sheets, cash flows in the most granular detail. And we then started running models. And we did 32 versions with 32 different startup dates and 32 different ramp-up profiles. And this enabled us to immediately determine the level of cash we needed to raise for the different models. And we had to choose a base case. And this was basically back in November, December 20, we chose as a base case we would be flying by 1 April 21. At that stage, we then approached our government, the AG, and we requested support. And here I must tell you, we want to express our gratitude to the government of Fiji, the AG, the Prime Minister, for the sovereign guarantees, which are 561 million guarantees, and long-dated guarantees that enabled us to raise 410 million new financing. And we would not be standing here today and in this venue if it was not for this support. We did one right thing though with this. We ensured that all the debt we raised has 15 years to repay it back, so a long time, and we managed in all cases except one to get a 4-year moratorium on capital repayments, only paying interest. So a lot of breathing space. We also raised special deals with our aircraft lessors. We're the only airline I understand that did this. We got 12 months rental payment deferrals, and the deferral turned into a 6-year loan. So we're paying the deferrals back over a long time. Again, very unique. 1 April didn't happen. So as part of our Navigate, we were ready with contingency plans. And it was to raise a further 100 million of loans, which we did, again, 15-year loans. And these we raised in the local market. I'm very grateful. We have a few of our bankers here today that assisted us with that. The others were done offshore. One of the major components of that contingency was how we would handle equity. Because throughout the period that I'm referring to, which was really up until April 21, the focus was mainly on cash. And raising enough cash to get to April 21 and enough cash beyond that for a slow ramp up. But we started in January 20 with a large balance of equity, but we had obviously significant losses in 2020 and 2021, which diminished a lot of our equity. And our challenge was that it went beyond 1 April, we would have to do an equity capital raise. That is, issue new shares to our shareholders and ensure that we restore capital in the business. So in August 21, we commenced with a capital raise of 200 million, and I'm pleased to say this has now been completed, and we've basically restored and added good equity into the business. We also did many other actions during Navigate. We kept our aircraft in active storage. We flew 17,300 tons of cargo, basically fresh produce being exported, a lot of transshipments, and very importantly, essential supplies like vaccines being brought into the country. We also did 523 repatriation flights. As I mentioned, as part of Navigate, in addition to these important financing measures, we also worked on being ready. And right from the very first day, our customer experience team worked on what we called our Travel Ready program, what the health and safety measures will look like when we fly. And they did a lot of research, a lot of designing, a lot of testing, and we employed medically qualified staff to become our wellness champions on the ground and in the air. And for this we won 2 major awards in the world. We got the Apex highest diamond hospital grade safety rating for our Travel Ready program, and we're one of the few airlines, I think the only 5 in the world, that got the Skytrax 5-star COVID safety rating. When we realized there's an opportunity to start flying in December 21, the same team started working on a travel framework. What would the protocols be, the health and safety requirements on 1 December when we start flying? Again, they did a lot of research. They developed an amazing model, and I'm pleased to say this was largely unchanged by the stakeholders that finally ended up with the COVID health and safety requirements for the flying on 1 December. Our customer team continues today to strive for perfection, and with the tremendous work being done by our new executive chef, Richard Cross, we've just won the Apex Passenger Award for the best food and beverage in the South Pacific, an amazing award. Simultaneously to all this, our commercial team focused on being ready. Very grateful once again to government that gave us a 40 million travel recovery program amount. Working with the hoteliers, and I must tell you this is quite unique. In our boardroom we had 11 hotel general managers sitting with us, which is quite exceptional because they normally compete. And they were sitting there working together with us, and we created very enticing holiday packages. Using $400 for 100,000 passengers, the 40 million was then spread between us. We kept 170 per passenger, hotels got 230, and together we created these 100,000 enticing packages, which undoubtedly created the right noise from October 21, when it was announced we would start flying in December, to get the momentum going, especially in the Australian and New Zealand markets, and more so in Australia. So I thought I'd share with you quickly all this, what does it mean in terms of performance. So since 10th of October, we have seen a very encouraging situation with our bookings held. I did a snapshot this morning for the presentation, and for the 6-month period, end of June to November, our bookings week on week are growing by 6%. Our total bookings held, as I stand here today, is 365,000 bookings compared to 334,000 in 2019. We're 9.3% ahead overall, and we still have markets closed, like Hong Kong, Japan, and the South Pacific countries. If I break that down into the different destinations we serve, I look at Australia first of all. For the same 6-month period, it is even crazily remarkable. In addition to the bookings held that are growing 5% week on week, total bookings are 193,000 compared to 155,000 for the same period in 2019. We're 24% higher. That means if you take the months from July through to November, and you take the 193,000 allocated over the months as they booked, we're 24% better than in 19. So it's really remarkable. USA, a little slower, it's growing by 6% week on week, and bookings held on 91,000 compared to 93,000, so it's 1.4% behind but catching up quickly. New Zealand, For the same 6-month period, we're holding bookings of 78,200, and 19 was 78,050, so 0.2% better, but it's better. And it's growing quickly, and that's growing at 9% week on week. Now, I always say this is nice to hear, but what does that mean in cash? Because we measure the cash we bank. So our target is in an off-peak month to bank around 40 to 50 million, and in a peak month in 2019 we were banking 70 to 80 million. So here are the numbers. When it was announced on the 10th of October, for October we banked 37 million, these are Fijian dollars. November we banked 81 million, that's an off-peak month. And then December dropped to 52 because of Omicron. January 47, February 56, March 86, April 98, May 110, and June a whopping 115 million. So I'm also pleased to announce as a result of this, we have prepaid one of our loans. We prepaid 50%, which is $32.5 million US dollars, it's 72 million Fijian roughly, and it's one of our major COVID borrowings. Now all this exceeds our optimistic plans. And I'm sure many of you standing here will say, well, Andre, you must all be smiling all the way to the bank. Well, as they say, the universe does not respect plans, and so this is not quite true. All the positive demand and this great performance I've told you about is dented by the huge increase in fuel prices caused by the Ukraine war. Jet kerosene this morning was 157 US dollars a barrel. Brent was 108, and the refining margin, the cost to refine, it's the difference. This compares with an average price in 2019 of around 78 US dollars a barrel. So there's no question going forward, airlines have no choice, and ourselves included, to implement substantial airfare increases. But this will not be enough. We have to explore and implement additional steps to grow revenue. So grow revenue is a key target of ours. And with that in mind, I'm very pleased to announce Fiji Airways' 20th direct international destination to grow revenue, and we say a big bulla to Vancouver, Canada. And as Edwin said, it's probably one of our worst kept secrets. Now, I walked in here earlier and I said, why do you put this all up? And they said, well, we can't put it up during, so we have to put it up before. So, starting November the 25th, we'll fly twice a week to Vancouver, creating that direct link for our tourism industry, cargo trade, and reconnecting Fijian families. It is estimated that the Fijian diaspora in Canada is approximately 80,000 people. Now, Canada has always been a very important tourism market for us, and introducing these direct flights and services will undoubtedly drive an increase in tourism to Fiji. In addition, these direct flights to and from Vancouver further strengthen the importance of Nandi as a trade and tourism hub, not only for Fiji, but for all the South Pacific countries. We will be leading a trade delegation on a promotion flight to Vancouver on the 9th of August to engage with the industry experts and our partners in Canada. We will take industry trade and trade specialists with us and commence contracting and raising awareness of this new and exciting direct route. As part of this one-off flight, we are offering Fijians the opportunity to buy return airfares at the low price of Fijian dollars 1,099, and passengers in Vancouver will be able to book flights on this particular flight at a price of Canadian $5.99 return. So those are very attractive prices, so guess what, buy now. So we also have some specials for when we actually start on the 25th of November, but these will be limited. So again, not every seat, but a number of seats. And we will keep the same pricing for those limited seats on the 25th for a few weeks. So we're also working, obviously, with a number of different organizations with a comprehensive marketing campaign, and we have our Tourism Fiji colleagues here today in collaboration with them and partners. And I thought it's just important to mention that in 2019 and prior, Fiji Airways spends the same amount as Tourism Fiji on marketing Destination Fiji. And that's why we work closely together, because when we combine our spend, we have a lot more penetration. Ladies and gentlemen, Fiji Airways is a small national airline in a global sense, but we're a premier brand and we constantly punch above our weight. Now for the second important announcement. Earlier I mentioned the completion of our equity capital raise, and now gives me great pleasure to introduce our two new shareholders and also strategic partners. Fiji National Provident Fund is now our second largest shareholder, holding 30.02%, behind the Republic of Fiji, which holds 51%. Our second new shareholder is the Unit Trust of Fiji, which holds 1.58%. I'd also like to welcome our new board members. Fijian Government appointed Director, Avi Raju, who is FijiCare's Group Executive Director, and FNPF's appointed directors, Daksesh, Patel and Sanjay, Kaba. So I'm sure that you will join me in giving them a round of applause on their appointment. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for spending the time with us tonight and sharing these two very important announcements. We're obviously very excited with our direct service to Canada. And as I mentioned earlier, airlines around the world, when we thought we were basically out of COVID and getting back to normal, fuel prices now are a major challenge, and the inflation that will come from it worsens it. But we're strong, we're adaptable, we're agile, we're influencing, we're courageous, and we will get through it. Thank you very much.